We were at a dinner party hosted by our friends, Mark and Olivia, the kind where the wine flowed too freely and laughter bounced off the walls like a comfortable echo of familiarity. My husband, Daniel, sat across from me, calm as ever, his quiet smile drawing people in. He had this effortless way of making others feel heard without saying much at all. But that night, something restless stirred in me. Maybe it was the Chardonnay. Maybe it was the way Olivia's husband kept her laughing. Or maybe I was just tired of being the quiet one in a room full of bigger voices. When the conversation turned to embarrassing partner habits, the jokes started flying. Someone complained about snoring, another about forgetting anniversaries. And then, suddenly, all eyes turned to me. "Come on, Emma," Olivia teased. "Daniel's too perfect. There must be something." I hesitated, feeling the weight of their attention. It felt good, that kind of spotlight. So I smiled and said, "Oh, don't be fooled. He's perfect until you need something fixed around the house. Then you might as well call a professional and wait until next Christmas." Laughter filled the room. Daniel smiled politely. The attention fed me, and I pushed further. And don't get me started on his cooking. The man once burned water. That one landed hard. The laughter grew louder. Even Mark clapped. I laughed too, but somewhere in the middle of it, the sound felt empty. I caught Daniel looking down at his plate, his fork unmoving. Mark tried to keep things light. "Come on, Dan. You can't let her roast you like that." Daniel lifted his head, wearing that same faint smile, but his eyes had changed. Not angry, not hurt, just somewhere else. "I'm fine," he said calmly. "She's right. I'm not much good at fixing things." He paused, then looked directly at me. "Except when something's broken between us. But even then, she'd rather laugh than talk." The laughter died immediately. The room went still, heavy with the echo of his words. Even the hum of the refrigerator felt loud. Olivia reached for the wine bottle, mumbling something about dessert, but it was too late. His words lingered like smoke, thick, impossible to ignore. I forced a shaky laugh. "Oh, come on. Don't make it so serious." But my voice cracked, and everyone heard it. Dinner went on, but the warmth was gone. The laughter around me blurred into static. All I could hear was his voice, repeating that one sentence. She'd rather laugh than talk. On the drive home, the silence pressed down hard. I wanted to apologize, to explain, but every word I rehearsed sounded wrong. When we got inside, Daniel went straight to the kitchen, filled a glass of water, and said quietly, "You know, I don't mind being the joke, but tonight it felt like I wasn't your husband, just your punchline." I folded my arms, defensive. "It was just a joke, Daniel. Everyone teases their partners." He nodded slowly. "Maybe, but not everyone does it in front of everyone else." That landed like a slap. He didn't wait for my reply. He just left the room. The sound of his footsteps faded, leaving only the pounding in my chest. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the ceiling, realizing how easy it is to confuse humor for connection, to hide behind laughter instead of reaching out through it. He hadn't been angry at dinner. He'd been tired. The kind of tired that doesn't come from one moment, but from years of small cuts disguised as jokes. By morning, Daniel was already dressed. He sat at the edge of the bed, tying his shoes with quiet focus. "I'm heading to work early," he said. His tone wasn't cold, just distant. The way you speak to someone you used to know well. When the door shut behind him, the silence was unbearable. I spent the day replaying everything. The laughter, his face, that one sentence. He'd always been gentle when I crossed lines. Last night, he wasn't gentle. He was honest, and somehow that hurt more. By evening, guilt had settled deep in my chest. I texted him, "Can we talk tonight?" He replied an hour later, "Sure." When he got home, he looked exhausted. Not angry, just worn down. We sat in the living room with no TV, just the sound of rain pattering against the windows. I shouldn't have said what I did. I began, "It wasn't fair." He looked at me steadily. "It's not about fairness, Emma. It's about respect." That word hit hard. I'd always thought respect meant loyalty or honesty, but never realized it also lived in the small things, like how you talk about someone when they're right beside you. When you laugh about me with other people, he continued, it tells them something. But worse, it tells me something. That my flaws are entertainment. I swallowed. That wasn't my intention. I know, he said softly, but intentions don't erase the impact. I stayed quiet, and somehow that silence hurt more than any argument could have. I don't need to be the loudest one in the room, he went on, but I hoped I'd at least be safe with you, even when we're surrounded by others. Tears stung my eyes. You are safe with me? I whispered. He nodded, but his voice was gentle and sad. I want to believe that. But last night made me realize maybe I've been laughing at the wrong times, too, laughing things off when I should have said something sooner. His words weren't angry. They were true, and that truth undid me. I reached for his hand. You're right, I said. I use jokes to hide when I feel small. I thought teasing you made me seem fun, but it only made both of us smaller. For the first time that day, he smiled faintly. I don't need perfect, Emma. I just need respect, even when it's inconvenient. The rain outside grew heavier, drumming gently against the glass. It felt like the world was trying to wash something clean. We sat together in silence, not the cold kind, but the fragile kind that feels like healing. Finally, I whispered, I'll make it right. He squeezed my hand. You just did, by not turning it into another joke. That night, when we went to bed, the space between us felt warmer. I rested my head on his chest, and for the first time in months, he didn't pull away. It hit me then, love doesn't always break in one big moment. Sometimes it erodes quietly, through laughter that cuts instead of heals. And sometimes it takes one honest, quiet sentence to begin rebuilding what careless words have worn down. That was the night I stopped performing for the room and started showing up for the man who'd been quietly loving me all along.